Hi, I'm Tony, that's Samra, and today we're reviewing The Odyssey, the 13th film directed by Christopher Nolan, starring an ensemble of stars, including Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, Robert Pattinson, and many more. We're going to start our review with a spoiler free section where we will talk about our expectations going into this movie, the discourse, and our initial reaction to seeing it. After that, we will go deeper in a spoiler section, and we'll be sharing our favorite and least favorite things about this movie. At the end, just for fun, we're going to be throwing in a quick top 3 ranking of our favorite Christopher Nolan films. So before we do that and get into this, please drop a like and hit the subscribe button to help support our channel. We really appreciate it. And I'll get us started right away just by setting the stage here of, I'm sure everyone's familiar with the Odyssey. People are familiar with Christopher Nolan, but I think going into this movie, it was probably the most hyped up movie of the year. And it's because you take someone in Christopher Nolan who is the biggest director alive, whether you think he's the best or anything like that. He is the biggest, most popular director alive. Christopher Nolan could have announced a movie with no title, no trailer, dropped it in the middle of July, and it would have sold out everywhere. This is the type of motion that man has. When you add to the fact that he's had this motion for a while, but you add to the fact that Oppenheimer was his most recent movie. It was a huge success. Many people would consider it his best movie. I'm not saying everyone thinks that way, but it is reasonably considered one of his best, if not his best movies. Yeah. It's both our favorite, I think. When you add that, and then on top of it, you get the hype of it being an Odyssey adaptation, the story of all stories, one of the most classic stories ever told, and it's Christopher Nolan at the height of his power. It is like the stars aligning. This is going to be the biggest spectacle of the year. This is the most anticipated film. And so when you go into a movie like that, how in the world could you possibly meet those expectations? Samra, what was your vibe going into this movie?
Oh my gosh. Well, I remember like it was yesterday, and I found the text message the other day. The second that news dropped that he was going to be adapting that for his next film, I remember we both talked about it over text, freaking out. And of course, I was so excited. And then I will admit, nothing against Matt Damon, nothing at all. But when it was announced that he was going to be playing Odysseus, I was a little bit nervous just because, again, he's a phenomenal actor, but I don't know. I was just kind of a little hesitant about it. Still very excited. And then the trailer dropped, and I know we also talked about this, it looked great, but some aspects we were kind of nervous over the color.
Or the lack thereof.
Color. And also I just remember, I guess the first look of the giants and everything, we were I was a bit nervous about that. But overall, despite all of that, I was still so excited about this. And clearly we were, because we were gonna try and see it, and we did see it opening night essentially. Yeah. So yeah, those are my thoughts, and I loved it afterwards.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll tell you that right now. We both enjoyed it. I think going into this movie, like you mentioned with the trailer, I was cautious, right? I was like, I don't want to get too hype about this because it has all the makings of what could be legitimately, I saw people say this. You're going into this thinking this could be my favorite movie I've ever seen. Yeah. Right? Like people, that's the height that this was reaching before it was even released. And so when I saw the trailer, I was worried that Nolan, because he takes a very grounded approach to his filmmaking, all of his movies, even the Batman movies, are very grounded. Like, what if this happened in real life? And you look at something like The Odyssey, which is very fantastical and epic, and it's this Greek mythology story. I wasn't sure how those genres would blend, right? I wasn't sure if this would end up feeling like a letdown. Is he going to match the scale and just the size of what this story is supposed to be? And while it wasn't as fantastical as maybe other interpretations could be, I thought Nolan totally nailed the scale of this story. And we'll get into that when we talk about different scenes and specifics. But from the score, the practical effects, performances across the board, like that's all the foundation of it. And again, I think you take the world's biggest director taking on the story of all stories. It's the type of thing that the hype can work against you, right? Like it's the type of thing that could actively work against your movie. But to me, The Odyssey delivered on its promise. This is the best film of the year, in my opinion. It's a very strong contender for best of the decade. And again, I won't get too carried away because we just saw the movie 24 hours ago, but it's legitimately a movie that I think almost immediately is going to be considered an all-time great. I think this is that caliber of movie. Is that crazy for me to say?
I don't think so. What keeps popping up in my head is this just going to be a stacked year? Because I keep remembering, oh my God, Dune comes out at the end of this year, and we still have to watch that. I can't even imagine what that's going to be like. But no, I don't I agree with you. It really was such an incredible movie, and I can't wait to talk about it more as we go on.
Yeah, we'll be getting into specifics and everything right now. We're keeping it
Mhm.
generally spoiler free, but you're
Yeah.
right. Like, you look ahead and it's Doom Part 3 coming out. For me, I'm a huge horror fan. I have high hopes for Resident Evil, but the Odyssey right now is looking very tough to beat. I think it's going to be a huge contender in the award season. Nolan could just sweep again the way that he did with Oppenheimer, and I wouldn't exactly complain at this point.
I saw someone tweet that just to have the Oscars set aside at this point for everyone. So,
I mean, it's a movie that to me has met the expectations. Now, before we get more into this, and I have a few more, broad general takes before we get into the spoiler section, but there was a lot of discourse around this movie because of the hype, because of the scale. I think inherently when you have a director as big as Christopher Nolan, there are some people who almost just to be contrarian,
almost pick me,
right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's not to say that you can't dislike Christopher Nolan's films,
yeah.
but there are some people who, just because it's the popular thing, they're going to hate on it. So you have that crowd. Then you also have, and we won't get too deep into this, but you have the reactionary crowd who, as soon as the casting came out, they see Travis Scott, they see Lupita, they see Elliot Page, and it's like, we're going to hate this thing because we've been convinced to hate these types of people. There are certain identities that we don't like, or diversity, wokeness, whatever, buzzword you want to use.
Historical inaccuracy.
Yes, historical inaccuracy about a story of Cyclops and gods and giants. And it's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Really not to mention Greece is right in the Mediterranean area. To think that they were all just pasty white people like us. It's ridiculous. What do you guys think was happening back then? So absolutely absurd criticisms. But I wanted to mention that up front because if you are someone who has seen that, I know I texted my friends and I was like, hey, the Odyssey was awesome. They were like, oh, really? I heard it sucked. Not saying that you can't dislike this movie for any valid reason, but there are a lot of people, and I think that the online discourse has been unfortunately polluted by bad faith actors who are hating this movie on the basis of identity. And it's just a shame because I think this movie, to me, like I said, obviously I showed my hand. I think this is maybe the best film in the decade. It's certainly in that conversation for me. Maybe time will change my opinion, but this is something that should be discussed on its merits. And I think if you're going into this with any concern about Travis Scott or anyone else, first off, not to be preachy, but like maybe just take a chill pill to start with. And second, just go into this with an open mind and judge it for what it is.
Give it a shot. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just have fun with it.
Don't convince yourself to hate it before you've seen it. So that's my opinion there. And the last thing that I want to say before we get into the spoiler section, if you have anything to add that's spoiler free, feel free. But as I said, maybe the best film in the decade, my best of the year easily so far. I think there's a case to be made, and we'll get into our top 3 Nolan and whether or not it cracks the list there. But again, kind of spoiling my own opinion here. I think there's a case to be made that this is Christopher Nolan's magnum opus. I think there's a case to be made that even if this isn't his best film or your personal favorite film, this is him at the height of his powers with years and years, like the full culmination of his filmmaking abilities from, honing in his practical effects, honing in his style, gathering an ensemble supporting cast of just A-list star after A-list star, even in the smallest roles, getting it down to a perfect formula. And then saying, I'm taking on the story of all stories, the frickin' Odyssey, and I'm going to knock it out the park. And he did it probably as good as I could imagine someone doing it. And again, feel free to agree or disagree. But to me, I think this is his magnum opus. And because of that, to be honest with you, I'm nervous to even be reviewing it because I'm like, I have to do this movie justice.
Oh my God, tell me about it. Yeah.
Do you have any spoiler-free takes before we get into spoilers?
Takes. Well, no, there is one part that I think I'm going to leave for a later section down the road in this review. So but I think I'm ready to get into the spoiler section. So let's go. Let's go
ahead and spoil this movie now. To be honest, most of our notes don't even have much to do with spoilers. We are going to talk about the ending, and I guess many people are already familiar with the general story. I do think, listen, I read it in high school and I didn't pay much attention to it, but I do think there are differences in how Nolan interprets the stories and certain themes and morality that he focuses on, but I also think that was still inherent to the original story. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but if you want to go into this movie as blind as you can, as blind as maybe the Cyclops, boom, just spoiled something for you, go ahead and come back after you've watched it. But if you're here for the spoiler section, we're about to get into that, so you've been warned. And the way that we're going to break this down is that I have a few in my mind, like totem poles of what this movie is built of, what makes this movie Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. And I want to break down those 5 individual categories, and we'll talk about those, and then we'll transition to talking about our favorite scenes. We'll talk about our least favorite scenes, and like I said, we'll end with our top 3 Christopher Nolan films. So
let's go.
the 5 pillars, the 5 foundations of this movie, to me, are Christopher Nolan himself, Matt Damon as Odysseus, the supporting cast, which includes A-lister after A-lister, the score, and then what I would describe as like the ending / the third act, basically the culmination of this movie, because as I said, this is his magnum opus. I think this entire movie builds to probably the best third act that he's ever made, one of the best third acts ever.
Absolutely incredible, yeah.
Starting with Christopher Nolan, you're a Nolan head. We're both Nolan fanboys. Yes. What about Christopher Nolan taking on this task of like the Odyssey? What about it worked for you?
I guess that's a good question. I feel, listen, the Odyssey is obviously not my story, shout out Homer, but I felt like knowing that Christopher Nolan's going to take it on because of his love for cinema and how he treats it like his baby. He really just gives it so much care and attention. Not saying other directors don't, but just yeah. But knowing like his love for the craft, it almost was like, okay, I know that this is in good hands. And so again, even like I said earlier, despite some of my hesitancies, I still was like, yeah, I'm all in for this. I'm ready to go watch this. And that's, I had a nice kind of feeling about it.
You felt assured that
yes,
whether it's good or bad, this is coming from a place of passion.
Of passion, yes. Right? He's, and just like, again, his love for the art. So yeah.
And I think that's key, because I think if this is, depending on which director had taken on something like the Odyssey, right, there are many different ways that you could tell this story. And I think Christopher Nolan, just knowing that, as I've laid out here in the initial start of this review, he is someone who's gotten to the point where he has a blank check. He can do whatever the hell he wants. He could have made any movie he wanted, and he would have had the budget and the stars to sign up for it. And so some people get to that point and they choose to do slop and half-baked ideas and turn it in. I don't want to. Oh, go ahead. You
the
can name
sequel
someone.
to Young Washington. He should have done that.
He should have made Young Washington too. But no, like there are certain people who get to that level. Like I'm going to name some names, and I'm not saying I necessarily dislike these actors or anything, but think of someone like Adam Sandler, right? Huge success, realized he could just coast on doing nothing but slop comedy movies. He had Uncut Gems, and then went right back to making like Happy Gilmore, right? Obviously never reached the heights of like a Christopher Nolan, really, but like that was someone, Adam Sandler in his prime, could have done any movie he wanted. Right. People will point out like The Rock as an example as well. Like there's certain people that get to that point and choose complacency. Christopher Nolan has chosen to continue challenging himself all the way up to what is like the greatest challenge of trying to adapt the Odyssey. And so I love that personally. I'm very excited. I was very excited about that. I think his decision and his commitment to practical effects, filming everything in camera, or as much in camera as possible, is so huge to this adaptation, because again, another director, I'm not even saying a lesser director or someone, I'm not saying it would have been worse, but another director could have turned this into an over-the-top CGI slop fest of like, we can do anything we want. Just go ahead, film whatever. We'll fix it in post. We'll add a weird sea monster
fix
here.
It in post. Jeez, just that phrase gives me PTSD. It's become the norm. I feel like it really has become the norm of just like what you said, CGI over.
It's complacency, it's laziness, and it's you're going into shots without a plan. You're into really movies without a plan. The people who are acting don't even know what they're reacting to.
Yes, right. They're just surrounded by blue screens. And I want to say, like, of course, the VFX artists, that's a whole nother.
It's a talent, it's an art.
But just the practicality of it all. Again, bringing the love of the craft back into it.
Exactly. Even down to the point where like you're watching this film, and guess what? The characters are in locations that are real locations. They're not standing in a blue room. They're not standing in a green room. They don't have a mocap suit on. They're actually in that cave. There is someone pretending to be the Cyclops, right? And
with a big puppet version of him just hovering.
And I don't know all the behind the scenes, but I would guarantee or assume that there's at least some sort of computer digital editing to make certain things look the way that they look in this movie. There's a lot of, playing with perception and depth and all that, but any CGI that is there is complementing the practical effect. It's complementing what's on camera. And I think because Christopher Nolan is such a forward-thinking person in that way, this made this film, it took it to a level that it wouldn't have under
Yeah.
someone else who maybe would have leaned on CGI more.
Right.
I have more stuff on Nolan, but actually, I'm going to save this little thing that I have in my notes for when we talk about the ending of the movie. So I'll come back to that. Number 2, Matt Damon. Now, we both mentioned, or I think you mentioned that Damon worried you a little bit as Odysseus. And I want to say, I think that's fair because when you look at Matt Damon's career so far, he's not really taken the type of roles that are like, you think of this super stoic, like warrior, gladiator, the most gladiator, the most like incredible general of war you've ever seen, right? That's not really like a Matt Damon vibe that you think of. And so,
and I especially real quick just wanted to say, I think also like watching him, because I think one of the most recent roles I'd seen him in was from Oppenheimer, and he was great in Oppenheimer. But again, like the contrast, I know actors do that, they play different roles, different characters, but still I think that also kind of affected me. But again, blew my mind watching him.
Blew my mind as well.
Like incredible. So
yeah. This is, to me, this is the best Matt Damon performance, and he's had a great career. I mean, you think of Good Will Hunting, Talented Mr. Ripley, so many great films from this guy.
We Bought a Zoo, a classic.
So many great films from this guy. And this role, I mean, he just completely sold me on this almost like mythical, biblical character where I'm like, I believe that guy is a general. I've seen some people say that like he was incompetent or whatever. I think there are certain aspects of this story, and please, if someone knows, please correct me, even if you know. A lot of what works against Odysseus in this movie, it's the act of the gods. Like, he's not getting lost because he's incompetent. He's not winding up on islands where things are going bad because he's not a smart person. Poseidon is not allowing him to go home. That is like the core, that is a core aspect of the story.
Yeah,
Poseidon is throwing him off.
It's the punishment, exactly. It's the punishment, and it's the continuous punishment after they just keep doing the wrong things. Yeah.
And it's not until he kind of atones for that and allows Poseidon to whoop his ass in the ocean, right?
The ocean.
That's the only thing that changes. So I wanted to address that. But like, I thought Matt Damon was incredible. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where like I don't know what else to add other than like he was totally believable as Odysseus. He completely nailed it for me. Loved him. Any other Matt Damon thoughts?
Shout out to him for screaming in his trailer so that his voice can age and sound different. If you guys haven't heard about that, just look up what Robert Pattinson said about him screaming in his trailer.
The things that actors do, and it, you know, it's not something that I think I was consciously noticing, but after hearing him say that, I did notice like, his voice sounded very hoarse. It sounded very worn down. And it's important to remember this is a role that spans 20 years. Like his character's supposed to be showing you 20 full years. And I think they did a good job through the makeup department versus how he portrays himself throughout the movie. Moving into like the third main category, and this is Samra's, forte right here, the score. By none other than Ludwig Göransson.
We love Ludwig here.
Incredible. This man is on an unbelievable heater from Oppenheimer, Sinners to now. Am I even missing something in between that? Tenet as well. But like
Tenet was one of them. Yeah.
What a run this guy's on.
Incredible.
And do you want to talk about the score a little bit? Because I know this is like your thing.
It's loud as hell.
It is.
Everything is loud as hell in this movie, but the score, I mean, obviously I was a fan, and I have to say, we talked about this a little bit beforehand. Some may say that I guess it's a bit more boring compared to his previous scores, but I don't agree with that at all. One of the tracks that stands out to me is Cyclops' theme, and the ability for Ludwig through the score to just emanate this like fear in you, almost this like primal fear, like going back, evolutionary fear. Just hearing it and having like I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about it. That is not easy to do. And through that score, I mean, I can't even explain it. I really, really, really thought he did just such a great job. So I just wanted to start off with that theme, and we can keep going.
And that's what you're going for in a score, right? Like it should be transformative. It should transform your movie and reach that point to where you're saying like, I don't even know how to explain it. I just know what it feels like, right? That's
exactly,
almost exactly what Can You Hear the Music is about. That's what it's saying is like, hey, you don't actually have to understand what this is, but can you hear it?
Can you hear it?
Can you hear it? And so, I mean, that's basically what he says in the movie. And I mean, that's on display in this. Like I felt things listening to this score, and what you mentioned, like there are some criticisms criticisms out there that mention that it's more repetitive, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah.
Like it's more boring in the sense that like I've seen people say it's all drums. It's just a lot of
like
drums.
basic, I guess. Like
Yeah. There's not as much variety to the score, I guess.
Yeah.
Which first off, if like not to just sound like I'm glazing him completely like shamelessly, but go watch like any behind the scenes of how they make these scores. If you think he's like phoning it in or doing something basic, again, I can't even tell you everything that goes into it, but like the amount of work and craft that goes into this, like I just think there's a general misconception that anything I saw someone say that like the Odyssey looked cheap, and I was like, do you understand how difficult and expensive it is to get a film to look like this? It's just like it's one of those things where people, maybe it's the internet, it's like you have to say something so extreme,
something different, so you have to be different. Again, it's the pick me energy, no offense,
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, just I've seen videos of him breaking down his tracks and just seeing the man's MacBook setup. He has like 6 different MacBooks layering the different tracks. It's I mean, I just loved it. And I loved, I guess, kind of, because this takes place in ancient Greece and everything, kind of getting that ancient sound with the drums and the like the plucking and everything
of the guitar,
the guitar with the bowstring, tying that in. So great.
I just don't know what people were expecting the score to sound like, because this is what I expected. And again, I thought it transformed it. The drums to me, like I think of the Trojan horse sequence where what instrument other than drums can incite a feeling of like dread and anxiety and like ratcheting tension, right? And that's what the horse scene is. It's tension all the way through, and the drums progressively, getting louder and louder all the way up until when they open up the gate. Like, it couldn't have been done better.
Same with the Cyclops. Again, not to go back to that.
But it's terrifying.
But the theme, just like noticing the pauses in the theme, because going along with the scene of like they don't know what's happening, they don't know what's going on or what this thing is.
It's dark in the cave.
It's dark, and it's just like that uncertainty and going along with it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then building off of this and the scores, the sound in general, you mentioned the plucking of the bowstring. There's a repeating, kind of motif throughout the movie where we see that Odysseus has this bow that only he is able to string. He does it, a few times in the movie. He does it easily. Everyone else struggles. And every time he plucks the bow, there's just this great sound that you hear. And it builds up until the third act reveal when he, shows himself to all the suitors, and it's just incredible. It's such a great, not needle drop, but like, what's the word that I'm looking for here? It's just this sound that keeps recurring. And as soon as you hear it, you're like, yes, like it's like a callback. I can't think of the correct word, but and then the last thing I'll say about the score and the sound is that you also mentioned this very loud movie. People complained about it. I'll admit I had a little bit of a headache by the end, but I think again, like, guys, this is the Odyssey. It's supposed to be freaking loud. And the one thing that I really enjoyed that's scattered throughout this movie is the thunder, right? Like we don't see the gods, you don't see Zeus, but you hear him. And it is very present, not only just the sound design, like you hear thunder, but even parts of the score, if I'm remembering correctly, there's like a thunderous feel to it. I think when they're going to Hades and the score, if I remember correctly, it almost sounds like lightning and thunder, like but it's an instrument, but it sounds like lightning.
Yeah, it almost like incorporates, I guess, the elements of that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Moving along here to our fourth category, the fourth thing that I think kind of carries this movie, and this is a loaded one. There's many different ways you can go, but the supporting cast, right? And I wanted to just kind of start this way because to me, I think many people involved are perhaps giving the best performance of their career. If it's not the best performance for certain people, I certainly think this is going to be one of those movies where you look back on an actor's career and 100% the highlight reel of their film, maybe even the final, like little, if you get like a 5-second snippet of them acting, most of it might come from this movie for a lot of these people. And so I wanted to just kind of play a game where I go down the list and I'm going to tell you whether or not this was the best performance I've seen by certain actors. And keep in mind, I haven't seen every movie from every person involved, but
you haven't?
No, unfortunately. We'll get there. Once Travis Scott's in a few more movies.
Oh my God, yeah.
Travis Scott, best performance I've seen him in.
Yes.
It's his only performance. By the way, he's in the movie for like 30 seconds. I don't even know.
He's great. I loved him in it. Yeah.
I don't know why it even became a point of discourse. He's barely in the movie. Matt Damon, in my opinion, I would say this is his best performance.
I agree.
Loaded category there, but I would say this is his best performance. Tom Holland, I would say this is his best performance. I think he's great as Spider-Man. You like him in The Devil all the time.
That's I think where it's very close between. I thought he was phenomenal in The Devil. I keep wanting to say The Devil Wears Prada.
He would have been
He
phenomenal in that
would've been
movie, which is
phenomenal,
unfortunate.
but
And I
yeah.
think before getting into the rest of the list here, Tom Holland of all people needed this movie probably the most because personally, I think he's a good actor. I think he proved that he's a good actor in this movie. Again, love him as Spider-Man, but the man has just not been in very good movies outside of that. Like he's been in a lot of movies that have been either mid to flops. I know The Devil All the Time has like kind of its niche following, and I watched it when it came out, 2020?
2020,
and I thought it was okay, but it didn't really hook me, and Tom was just fine.
You're forgetting the best one though, Uncharted.
I knew you were gonna mention Uncharted. That's another movie where like it's fine, but like he hasn't had that role. He hasn't had a movie outside of Spider-Man where you're like, it's a really good movie, and he's a important part of it. He plays Odysseus' son in this movie, and he is great. I think it's the best performance of his career. Anne Hathaway, not the best performance of her career. I will back off there, but I do think the monologue that she has near the end of the film is up there.
She really blew me away. I was worried that obviously Penelope is she has such a big part in the story, but for some reason, I don't know why, I was worried about like how much screen time I guess she would get, and I was so happy with I love her, and she's an amazing actress, and so yeah, like you said, I don't think this is like her best, but definitely up there. So
yeah. And that final like monologue, not final monologue, but that the monologue that most people are going to be referencing when she's mentioning that, hey, 20 years have gone by. Everyone's talking about who's going to fill the throne. I've been sitting on this empty throne, but apparently I'm not good enough to fill it. That was very powerful, very emotional, I thought. And again, is it the best performance of her career? Why do you want to keep saying is it the best performance of her career? No, but that sequence right there, again, like when you think of, when we're looking back at her career or showing it at the Oscars, like you're going to see that scene. There's a lot of other supporting actors here who are like only in the movie for a little bit, so I'm not going to go too deep on anyone else, but there's one guy who I was super impressed with and I have to mention, and that's John Leguizamo.
Leguizamo, yeah.
I apologize if I said his name wrong. I've seen this guy in so many movies.
Gosh, yeah.
He is almost never playing a role as serious as he is in this, and he blew me away. I thought he was incredible in this film.
Loved him. I loved all of his scenes, truly. In each one and the roles that he in those scenes. But yeah, he was so great.
Very good as this like old mentor, blind wise man, and by the way,
his right hand man. Yeah.
Did you know? So Mentor, Ryan Hurst's character.
I read yes.
So his name in the movie is Mentor, and if you're thinking that's kind of a little on the nose, why'd they name him Mentor? Well, guess where the term mentor comes from? The Odyssey.
This story's so old.
Literally invented the term. We call people mentors because Mentor was the teacher. Yeah, it's so funny. I thought he was great in this. I thought Lupita Nyong'o was great in this. Again, these are actors who were only in small roles. I thought
real quick, wanted to go back to Himesh Patel.
Thank you.
So sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but my goodness, I thought he was great.
Yes.
Really,
he plays like, I'm not super familiar with all the side characters here, but like he plays the kind of, I know he said the other guy was his right-hand man. This is like his right-hand man in battle.
In battle, exactly.
Right. The other guy on the ship with him, and he's great. He's very necessary for this film. Like this performance is one that could have been forgettable, but it ends up being very, very memorable to me. I thought Elliot Page in the small role that they're in nailed it. The minimal screen time they had was knocked out of the park. I thought they were great. Zendaya, not a bad performance, but again, not on screen much. And I do think the reveal that we get is very powerful.
Can't wait to talk about that. I gotta say, I've been seeing, again, this goes back to like the internet discourse and everything. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about her acting and how they just were not happy with it, or in general, I don't know. I thought she was great. Like I thought, obviously, again, not a huge role, but every time she was on screen, I thought that she really just did a good job.
You know what it is? It's Zendaya's in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
And so she becomes the immediate lightning rod for criticism because everyone has seen a Zendaya movie. Everyone's seen a Zendaya movie. And it's kind of like how Pedro Pascal 5 years ago was like the internet sweetheart. Everyone loved him. Now all of a sudden everyone hates Pedro Pascal.
Oh my
Why?
gosh.
Because he's in a lot of movies and we've decided that it's too popular.
Right.
Like, sure, you can give me valid reasons for maybe why you don't like his acting,
Mhm.
but the internet has a way of turning on people, and I
Yeah.
think Zendaya is an example of that.
Good point. Yeah.
Charlize Theron, again, like small role, but I thought she was fine. Benny Safdie, if one thing about this movie stands above all else, they made Benny Safdie look like the coolest dude that has ever walked planet Earth.
Oh my God.
That man is aura farming to a degree that, like, it might be the most aura-full character in any Nolan movie, and that bar is so freaking high, I can't even tell you. When
Oh
they
my
open the
gosh.
gates of Troy, and he is
Jesus.
standing there just mogging everyone, they
Mhm.
I would have paid $25 just to see that 5-second clip,
Yeah.
and I would have walked out of the theater happy. That man,
Good enough.
thank God they
Oh
kept the
my
helmet on him.
gosh. Oh,
I'm just kidding, Benny. But
we love you, Benny. We really do.
other names here, and again, I know I'm rambling, so feel free to chime in.
Can I jump in real
Yes,
quick?
go ahead.
Sarah Morton, if I'm remembering correctly. Cersei.
Samantha Morton.
I'm so sorry,
Morton, yeah.
Samantha Morton.
The witch.
I love you, Samantha Morton. I thought, oh my God. Her scene, now I will be honest, I did not watch 90% of the scenes that she was in because they were very scary and I couldn't handle it, but she was show-stopping. She was a showstopper for me personally. So just round of applause to Miss Morton, truly.
I haven't seen her in any other role, so I could be wrong, but I'll just give it to her best performance of her career. Bang. Again, I think many people involved have I think you could argue this is Ludwig's best score. I wouldn't go that far, but I think you could argue it. I think you could argue this is Christopher Nolan's best film.
Mhm.
Not necessarily ready to say that, but I think you could argue it.
Yeah.
I think Matt Damon, as I mentioned, Tom Holland, a number of people. I think John Bernthal was good. I'm not really not in the business of telling whether or not this was his best performance, but I thought he was fine. We can talk about him later.
We could, yeah.
Mia Goth's in a very small role. I just wanted to make sure I kind of touch on all the big names that we have here before I get to one guy who may have been waiting for me to mention.
Oh, yes.
Is this Robert Pattinson's best role to date? Now, I'll say this. I think it's his best villainous role to date.
I agree.
And he could surpass that later this year. As in Dune Part 3.
This man is in so many movies. I'm losing track.
It's possible. I think he plays this preppy, selfish, manipulative loser very well.
So
I love the moments where in real time you see him realize he has an opportunity to manipulate the scenario where I can't think of the character's name, but he gets on top of Tom Holland and he's about to murder him, and Anne Hathaway comes out and is like, stop, please. And Robert Pattinson the whole time was egging this on and wanted it to happen. But then as soon as he realizes he has a moment, he goes, dude, calm down. Give the kid a break. Yeah. It's like, you little conniving.
You know what he is?
What?
He's a snake.
He's a snake.
He's a snake.
But I thought he was from Gryffindor.
But no, he was a Hufflepuff.
Oh, sorry. Well, close. He wasn't Slytherin. That's all I know. Anyways, I wanted to say I'm glad that we actually mentioned Harry Potter, because something that I've been thinking a lot watching Robert Pattinson over the years is that I obviously don't know him personally, but if you hear him in interviews, you just see his not off-screen personality, because obviously I'm still watching him through a screen, but when he's not playing a role, right? When he's not playing in a movie, his personality is so kind of quirky, awkward, introvert. And then you watch him play someone like Batman or his character in this movie, I can't think of his name. This villainous evil roles. And I'm like, how is the quirky, millennial introverted guy so powerfully playing this role? And it honestly takes it to another level where I'm like, okay, some of these characters like Tom Holland, he's kind of just being Tom Holland in this movie and he's good at it, but it's kind of just Tom Holland. Anne Hathaway kind of just being dramatic Anne Hathaway, right? And it's good. Well, because she does comedic stuff too, so that's why I clarified. But it's Robert Pattinson is, from what I can tell, being a very different person from who he is in real life. And does that mean he's a better actor for it? I don't know, but it's very interesting to me how effortlessly he portrays these evil, greedy, selfish assholes, when in real life he seems just a small bean, he's just a small bean.
He seems really chill, and you can say that honestly about one of his most iconic characters, Edward Cullen. Edward, how can this this man portray that man. One more thing I wanted to say about Robert Pattinson real quick, just tying it back to what you said about Christopher Nolan at the beginning of the video, about how, like, you all know, Robert Pattinson made a ton of money off of Twilight.
This is such a good point.
So much money that he could have done, like, you know, kind of go for like the cash grabby roles, you know what I mean? This man instead is really taking his time and just choosing the projects, it seems like, that really just intrigue him and interest him, from the drama to Dune to like all over the place. What was the one with this A24?
The new one coming out?
Yes, that one.
Where he's playing the pedophile catcher.
You're
thinking of Good Times.
Good Time.
The movie,
I want to say After Hours. No, Good Time. Okay,
the new movie that's coming out where he's playing Chris Hansen's what I'm thinking of.
Yes, that
I wanted
guy
to say
too.
Jim Hansen. Is that the puppet guy?
That is the Muppet
Jim
guy.
Henson. Two very different people. But yeah, Good Times. Like, it's just you're absolutely right. This is a fantastic point. He's someone who made uber money off of Harry Potter and then Twilight.
Right.
Could have honestly never acted again if he wanted to, have been fine. But he took that liberty of like, let me just be a little weirdo who takes on weird roles, and
we love him for it. We love him.
Thank God we have that.
Yes.
I think that's it for the supporting cast. If we forget anyone, we can come back, but we got a lot more to talk about still. And we're already 36 minutes in. So I want to yap about the ending of this movie. And
go off.
To me, what took this from being like an epic, fantastical, like mythological story with like some really great action and horror to like, let me just get punched in the gut real quick. The ending of this movie, the morality of it. And I'm going to go back in my notes real quick to what I was going to mention in the Christopher Nolan section. Nolan, in his last two films especially, this movie to me is very similar to Oppenheimer in terms of its themes and its morality. And throughout this movie, we hear them talk about Zeus's law. Zeus's law, which is essentially treat others how you would like to be treated. Treat strangers with respect. Have sympathy for other people. That is like this, you know, I'm quoting a tweet that I found because I think they worded it better than I could. Zeus's law being this institutional foundation of a functional society, and this movie kind of examining what happens when that foundation is broken by men who have an insatiable lust for power. That is so powerful to me, and I think it, again, it's very similar to Oppenheimer, and it very much resonates with our current world where we live in a society that more and more has become isolated, individualistic, and just, can you imagine taking in a homeless person, washing their feet, giving them food? I would assume most people, honestly, even including myself, probably would scoff at that idea. It's not something that I'd be willing to do. We are so untrusting of our neighbors, untrusting of the people close to us. And I think Nolan examining that and packaging it into this like move, like it's the Odyssey.
Yeah.
I didn't expect this to be such a theme. And I guess I actually kind of want to back up. That is a theme of the original story. But as someone who was only vaguely familiar with the story, I wasn't expecting that to punch me in the way that it did. And I think seeing the way that the fall of Troy and the Trojan horse is recontextualized in this movie into something that it seems triumphant. And then all of a sudden you look back and it's this guilt and this sorrow and this turning point in the world where we watch the world fall. There's the quote from Matt Damon near the end where he says, to burn the walls of Troy was to burn the world entire. And I think Christopher Nolan and the way that he utilizes time and telling stories in non-chronological orders, he nails it in this movie. I thought the way that the narrative is broken up, it works so well because when you see the fall of Troy earlier in the movie and the way that it feels so triumphant, and then you see it again recontextualized with this quote, with all these reveals of, you know, they say over and over again, be kind to strangers because it could be Athena in disguise. Yeah. And then you see them in Troy murdering innocent people. And Matt Damon, Odysseus, has this vision of Athena throughout. And we see that his representation of Athena is a woman who was murdered by them. We hear throughout the movie of the sea people. The sea people are going around pillaging and causing chaos. And we realize that the sea people are Odysseus's men. As they get closer to home, the sea people are getting home, or closer. As the sea people get closer to Ithaca, Odysseus is getting closer to home. And so all of that, like all these reveals and the score blasting throughout, like that hit me so hard.
I mean, first of all, you cooked, and I agree with
everything.
I
was very long-winded. Thank you for bearing with me.
You cooked, and it's something that one of the moments that really just stuck with me throughout the whole movie is just, again, like you said, watching, you know, watching how everything played out after they ran through the gates and everything, and we see, of course, Matt Damon watching the horror unfold essentially, and just seeing his face at the end when he just like slumps over those stairs and is just looking at everything and seeing, I guess, just like the shame and the guilt and the disgust and everything. It really, really, really stuck with me. And again, it's unfortunately very timely, with everything that's going on. And again, going back to your point about Christopher Nolan, just with these last two movies, really, saying his message about the state of the world and what he thinks of it. And
yeah, and I think of like Zeus's law in this movie, right, which again is repeated over and over again, is treat others with respect, basically, and being this thing that it is like the basis of what you need in order to have a high functioning society. And the way that throughout this movie, Matt Damon, when he's speaking to Athena in his visions, he keeps saying, why won't the gods speak to us in ways that we can understand? Why must they speak in such elaborate, convoluted ways? And over again, multiple times, Athena breaks through to that and says, what is hard to understand about pain, suffering, loss, love, all these very simple things. And again, I come back to Zeus's law and I'm like, that is the most simple foundation that you could possibly have. And yet throughout this film, it is lost on almost everyone. We see the suitors who are at the house and just constantly causing chaos, constantly being rude to people. And we see that throughout the movie, and we have these two ideas of like Zeus's law is the right thing to do, and we're seeing that all throughout the land. No one is following it anymore. And what we realize at the end of it is that the reason why Zeus's law failed is because Odysseus and his men went inside the Trojan horse, betrayed Zeus's law, took something that, hey, this is a gift to you, right? Like, we accept your gift from the gods. It is the most like trusting thing that you could have. And we snuck into their palace, murdered all of them. It is like the ultimate betrayal, the ultimate just refusal, defiance of the gods, which is what the story is, right? Yeah. And I think, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just...
Oh, sorry. I think to tie this into one of the quotes at the very end of the movie that very much stood with me is Matt Damon says, civilization will rise again and dawn will break over the darkened world and our mistakes will once again be forgotten. I think that is something that throughout history, I mean, guys, like, listen, we've said it. This story is as old as time, basically. And here we are in 2026 saying, wow, this really is like, says a lot about our current world.
I mean, hey, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the phrases that I hear all the time is, wow, we're repeating history. We're repeating history right now. So, yeah.
You make mistakes until enough time goes by for people to heal from it and forget. And then you make those mistakes again. And that is a theme that Nolan has definitely kept throughout his filmography. Now, 42 minutes into the review, we're doing it. It's the Odyssey. I said before, I was like, listen, this is going to be a long review.
We have a lot to say about it. It's just so good.
We're going to get into some of our favorite scenes. And this is going to be more or less just kind of like, just going over like, hey, I love this, I love this. And then we'll end with our least favorite and then finally our top 3 ranking. So if you're still watching at this point, you got to hit the like button. You got to subscribe.
Yes, come on.
I really appreciate it. This is in no particular order. One of my favorite scenes by far, one of the scenes that I was most looking forward to is the Cyclops.
Really?
And oh yeah, absolutely. It is.
I don't know. It just kind of passed on for me. No,
yeah. Absolutely so excited for it. And I wondered again, like Nolan, he's such a grounded filmmaker. Is the Cyclops going to feel underwhelming? Was I going to feel underwhelmed? Was I going to feel like this is just an unusually large person? Or am I going to feel like this is some otherworldly monster attacking? And somehow he managed to thread the needle between this thing being so terrifying and scary to me while also hitting this like emotional human element of like, when they stab that thing in the eye and it screams, I was genuinely upset. Like it was deeply upsetting to me, the scream of pain that it was in, and how it immediately starts talking and you realize this isn't just some monster. This is sorry everyone, my dogs. We're talking about monsters and here comes the monster. But like it dawns on you that this is a creature that was just simply minding its business, herding its sheep, and now these people to him, they're like ants, right?
Yeah.
Are in his home. And they just start messing with him and hurting him. And it's like, it made me upset. And Christopher Nolan has a quote about this where he's talking and he references Guillermo del Toro, who told him like, a monster is never just a monster, right? There's no such thing as just a monster. Whatever you think is a monster, that person or that thing doesn't view itself as a monster, right? They
Yeah.
are just a thing. They're just a creature.
They're themselves.
They are themselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Nolan somehow, again, not only matched the scale of this being like this huge, scary Cyclops, but hit me with that emotional element of like, not only was I scared, but then I felt sympathy for this thing. And that's Zeus's law right there.
Zeus's law.
Zeus's law right there. This thing that like I look at originally and I'm like, it's terrifying, somehow managed to make me sympathetic towards it at the same time. It's incredible filmmaking.
I must admit, I was also sympathetic, but I will say,
my mind, fight or flight.
I was in fight or flight, you guys. I am very sensitive to horror, as you know, and I knew this was going to be a scary scene, but I didn't know it was going to be this scary. And so I was watching half of it. I was like wanting to scream almost 90% of the time, and so of course I really felt bad for him too. But I think my mind was just so focused on. It didn't help that we had like speakers in our seats, so again, it felt like we were there. Felt like we were there in the cave trying to run away. Again, fight or flight mode. I was just so focused on, oh my God, he did such a great job of making this thing so terrifying, so ginormous in scale, and just so otherworldly. And with again, the score and just his screams that sound so otherworldly. I've never heard a noise like that in my life. I never want to hear it again, even though I want to rewatch this movie. It's just that I think is what was taking my over on my mind and everything throughout that scene. So
it was very scary, and I love the shots when they escape the cave and they're running down the hill, and you can just see it in the background, and you can't see it every time, but every once in a while you catch a glimpse of it rising above the trees chasing them. So good, so scary. Loved it.
Yeah.
Another horrifying scene.
Oh my God.
Do you want to talk about the witch, Circe?
Yes, Circe. Again, as I said, shout out Miss Morton, Samantha Morton. She did great. I have to say something, and this is to all the critics. This is to everyone who saw the movie before, and I loved all your reviews and everything. Why did no one mention that this movie, again, was going to have a horror aspect? Also, why did Christopher Nolan have to have a body horror segment in the movie? I am so bad with body horror, and he can attest to this. I think I was holding your hand so tight during this scene and like almost crushing it.
I thought you were going to walk out.
I was so close to walking out. I was so close to walking out because we are in the spoiler section. And as many of you probably already know, she invites his men in and, you know, she's giving them food and everything. And as they start eating, she's turning them into pigs, essentially. And again, you're going to have to help me out with this because I wasn't watching the scene. But just hearing the noises of them transforming and turning into the pigs, which is their true selves, according to her spell and everything. Christopher Nolan, I love you. You did this so well, but oh my God, this was so scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they're eating and it becomes clear that they can't stop eating, and it's very grotesque. It's very nasty to watch. And then she quite literally... I've never seen something like this in film. I saw another person point this out, and I couldn't. I love horror. I love body horror. I've seen a lot of it. I can't recall a scene where someone literally crafts with their hands like someone else's body. Like she goes up to them and she's shaping their heads into a pig. She's like pulling their face. She shoves her arm down the guy's throat and like moves his head. And it's stuff where it's like it's on screen for a second. You get maybe like 2 or 3 second money shot, and then it's like you can barely make out what's happening, but it's all practical. Himesh Patel pointed out, he's like, yeah, they're doing that to us. They turn us to pigs, not actually, but like there's all this stuff on your body. You're seeing it happen to other people. Horrifying sequence. And I know Christopher Nolan has mentioned he might do a horror movie. Please, Lord, let Christopher Nolan bless us with this horror movie.
This was a horror movie.
Yeah, but it's like 10 minutes. I need 3 hours.
Oh my God. Well, good luck. Have fun.
But it's a great sequence. And again, similar to the Cyclops, guess what? You have this horrific thing that this witch is doing. And at the end of the day, she is absolutely correct.
She had her,
those men have been going all over. They are the sea people. They've been pillaging, doing God knows what to everyone they've come across. To think that they would have let her alone or respected her house was a complete mistake. Odysseus throughout this movie cannot see the true character of his men, the true, who they are. And that ultimately leads to, it's not he can't control it, but it does lead to their fate, which I don't have listed as one of my favorite scenes. We'll talk more about it later, but like they are pigs at the end of the day.
Yeah. I'm just looking this up. I don't know if this is the exact quote, but I wanted just to note about that scene, like you said,
You're right,
going
yeah.
back at the end when she's turning them back into men. She doesn't say like come back to like your true form or anything. She says something along the lines of come back to your disguises or like return to your disguises. Because they're pigs at the core, but you know,
and it's a very powerful line. And again, like you feel sympathetic towards her because who knows what they would have done to her, right?
Exactly.
She, at the end of the day, she's almost just defending herself. Some of my other favorite scenes, and again, feel free, like if you have one that I didn't list here. The Trojan horse, this was not in any particular order. I probably would have put this number one. The Trojan horse sequence, from them getting into the horse, seeing how like dude, they were in there for 3 days, they're drowning inside of it. Like what a brutal thing that they went through.
I'm glad that we saw that. Real quick, just wanted to jump in. I'm glad that we saw that perspective of it, because you don't really think about it, them inside and just everything that they were going through. So yeah.
Shout out to Christopher Nolan casting John Bernthal just so he can say, let me tell you something. Have you heard it from inside the horse, right? Like, and he was in there, and it's really brutal. And I know Nolan has talked about, he's had this vision for like 20 years of the horse in the sand. Did you hear this quote?
No, what?
So I guess he was originally in talks to direct Troy. Back in I think 2004. And his idea for the Trojan horse, he had this like vision of the horse kind of halfway in the sand where they built it, they were waiting. And since he never directed the movie, he never got to make it come to life. And then once he decided to do the Odyssey, he was like, I can finally do this. And it came out exactly how he envisioned. And that has to be the most satisfying thing ever. Because I mean, even on a small scale, I've had like, I have an idea for a thumbnail. Let me try to make this. Wow, it turned out exactly how I thought. It's so satisfying. Imagine 20 years and paying it off in that way. So
good for him.
Awesome build up to the sequence. When they're inside the gates, the tension just keeps ratcheting up. Them getting, climbing out, assassinating the guards. They're all coming through. And when they open that gate, I already mentioned it, but such an awesome moment. Matt Damon even mentioned like he didn't know that there were 500 extras behind the gate. Did you see this?
500. Okay, yeah, you're gonna have to. Yeah, please.
He said that he knew that there were some extras behind the gate. He understood that, but he didn't know how many there were. And so when they opened it, and all of a sudden 500 people come rushing through, their reaction in the film, where they're like shouting and like celebrating, is like very real, because they're like, "Oh my god, this is like a spectacle. This is crazy." So, probably the best action sequence of the movie, and really, if you just look at the fall of Troy as the set piece that is also shown multiple times throughout the movie, it is the core of this film. It's the best. It is the one thing that you return to most. Probably the best scene in the film. Would you agree or disagree?
The best scene in the film. I think, I agree. I agree for sure.
Hell yeah.
I'm trying to. There was
there's so many.
Movie, you
it's
guys,
a 3-hour movie.
But yeah.
Speaking to the dead when they go to Hades, I thought that was very cool. I thought I've seen some people say this, and I will agree slightly. I think you could have made Hades look a little like crazier. It's kind of just like a flat land.
Oh, okay. Yes. I'm sorry.
Like
I thought.
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just this like flat beach. I think you could have made it a little spookier or crazier, but
I wanted some fire, please.
Yes, and it's very well done. Still, I thought it was very cool. The other scene that I would argue is maybe the best scene in the movie, but kind of this is what I was trying to say, where it's like you return to the fall of Troy. The ending flashback where you get the monologue from Damon and it kind of spells out the themes of the movie. That's my favorite scene in the movie. And again, it's kind of like the Trojan horse is included in it. So I think you put those together.
Yeah, I agree. Real quick before we get to this one in our notes, I also wanted to say when this is closer to the end, but this is when Odysseus is dressed as a beggar. That's his disguise. And he goes in, and I believe this is before as he's talking to Penelope through the screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of something else.
This is, so he's talking to her through the screen, and then one of her servants comes up and is like going to wash his feet, because that's what Zeus's law.
Yes.
And this movie with like calling back to the beginning and everything, it does it so well. So she's about to wash his feet, and if you remember at the beginning of the movie, they talk about how he suffered an injury to his foot.
He was attacked by a boar.
By a boar,
because go ahead, I'll come back to something else.
Yeah. So he was attacked by a boar, and of course her servant at the time was
servant.
like the same servant was
stitching
up. Thank you. I want to say fixing his foot, and that's not, but stitching it up. And so of course when you come back now to the present moment where he's this beggar, she sees his foot and she knows, oh my God, this is Odysseus. And you just see him really quickly, like with his foot, knock over the bowl and everything. And he's just like trying to tell her just through his facial expression not to say anything. And she just goes along with it. I loved that scene so much. It's just like a short sequence, but really, really liked it.
The entire third act of this movie, again, is like, I think his best third act. It's so good when he returns and he's disguised as the beggar. There's so many moments. One scene that I didn't put in, I'm kicking myself for forgetting.
I know which one you're going for.
When he sees his damn dog. And I just say, Christopher Nolan put the shot of the puppy in there specifically to spite me, to hurt my feelings, I think. I'm just kidding. But it's such a, like, I knew about that scene from the book, and man, does it hit your heart so heavy, because you see him as a little puppy, and, you know, you see the tail wag one last time, and he knows, like, my owner's home, he's safe. I can rest now. And then it's followed by, I want to shout this out, because not only do you get that great scene with the dog and everything, but it's followed by Tom Holland, really like one of the best sequences of his career, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Where you see the tears welling up in his eyes, and he realizes that is his father, because up to this point he hadn't realized it, and he says, "Welcome home, stranger." That's like one of the best line reads of his career. It's great.
Beautiful. And also that and the lighting in that scene too, just again kind of accentuated his tears and like really emphasizing them. My God.
The final scene that I have here, and really this again could be like a 30-minute sequence, is basically when Odysseus returns as the beggar, kind of, you know, in disguise, interacting with all the characters. We get to the point where Penelope decides, all right, you guys want to marry me so bad? Go ahead and string that bow. No one can do it. It is like I understand that there's a reason why the Odyssey is like the most classic story. But this concept of like, you have this redemption story of someone returning home and reclaiming what is theirs, and they're dressed as a beggar, and they're being ridiculed and mocked, and everyone thinks they're so smug and they can do this so easily, and they can't. And then he steps up to do it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, right. The beggar's gonna be able to do this.
God,
Give me a break."
So annoying, yeah.
And he kind of messes up the first time, and everyone's making fun of him.
Messes up, yeah.
And then that man locks in. And when I tell you he locks in, he goes, boop, puts the string on. Everyone gets quiet. A note that I love: Robert Pattinson recognizes right away what the hell's about to go down.
Oh, yeah.
So it takes a while for most of the crowd to realize what's happening. As soon as Robert sees that, he's like, we're all about to die. I'm running.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to the back, which is a really great character trait where it's not such like, let me fight. It's like, oh, guys, go get in the way.
And you see that throughout the whole movie with his character. He's just such a coward, plain and simple. So, yeah.
I mean, it's shown throughout the movie where he doesn't take the place of
Sinan.
He doesn't take the place of Sinan. He never is the one who actually attacks Tom Holland. It's always the other character, or even when they go out searching for him, he's not there because he's like, well, I have to be there for the queen or whatever. Buddy, you just don't want smoke. Yeah. So,
and there's one more that we're going to get to where he doesn't want smoke. But
Odysseus gets up, shoots the bow through all the axes.
Yeah, we call Ludwig in real quick when he's...
the bow. And immediately it's clear he's about to tear up the room, because he's not locked in there with them. They're locked in there with him. And he just goes crazy. It is like the ultimate payoff. He's whooping ass. He's getting everyone.
Beast mode.
They're like dropping weapons through the ceiling. And just Robert Pattinson is just calling like, get the spears, so, someone kill him, please.
Again, such a coward, because he's literally hiding behind this, like, I don't even know, pillar thing, and screaming at them to get the weapons that
to kill him for him, basically.
He's such a pussy. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
He is. And one detail that I really, really liked during this fight sequence is that throughout the fight sequence, you can see as it progresses that more and more people are starting to just drop to their knees and bow, because they're like, he's here. Like, the king is back. But, and I could be wrong, I meant to, like, this is a movie that I think I'll benefit from rewatching. When it starts popping off immediately, are there people in the background who are fighting against the suitors as well? I think there are still some loyal servants there who are also fighting, because it's not like there's not 60 people all coming at Matt Damon at once. There's a lot of commotion going on in the background, and I didn't verify, but are those the other loyal servants trying to like defend him as well? I that's my interpretation.
Yeah.
At the very least, as the fight starts going, more and more start dropping and bowing, and that's something that's referenced by John. Is it by John Bernthal? Someone references earlier. It's like, that's too many men for one person to kill, and they say once you kill a few, the rest will start bow. Like, we'll give up essentially. We'll cower away. Yeah. Someone mentions that in the film. I don't remember who. Anyways, incredible sequence. Great fight. Matt Damon again just embodies this like old tattered warrior who is like unstoppable, kills Robert Pattinson,
Thank God.
gets his wifey back, and is exiled. But that's what he wanted, and they ride off into the sunset, and it's
what they wanted at the beginning of the movie and what she mentioned. So it's a nice kind of cyclical, like
full circle.
Full circle. Thank you. Yes.
It's
so
great.
Good.
Now let's go ahead and get
man.
into our least favorites. We're at the hour mark. We're doing it. We're doing the damn thing. There's a lot to talk about.
We are.
So this is how I wrote it. And again, I want to be clear. I've said it so many times. This is the best movie of the decade, potentially, to me. I think a movie up here, Sinners, it's mirrored. Sinners, I think, is in that conversation. Dune Part 2, Oppenheimer. Like, there's other movies that I would put in that mix. But to me, this is up there. So I have to reach to find things that I don't like. But the one scene that I would say that it's not that I didn't like it, but if I had to pick, the scene when they land on whatever island this is, which God forbid they land on another island, because it's every island they land on.
Yeah, too much.
Something going on. But Matt Damon tells them after they speak to the dead, all of the crew members are going to die if you murder Apollo's cattle. If you murder that cattle and eat them, the gods are going to kill you. And they're like, yeah, no, we're not going to do it, buddy. Don't worry. Of course, they go. It seems like some time has passed and they can't get off the island and they're starving. So they end up eating the cows. And it's this moment where, because time, like, it's clear that time has passed, but it's very quick the way that we see it. It doesn't feel like time has passed. It seems like the same night almost. I think it happens too quickly. I don't get the sense of like starvation and desperation. And that the main thing, I've been burying the lead, but the main thing is, this is the one time in the movie where I'm like, that's Matt Damon. Because you know what I'm talking about? When he walks up and he sees them eating the cows, he literally goes, did you think if you did it quiet enough, the gods wouldn't hear you? And it sounds so much like Matt Damon in like every movie I've ever seen him in.
God.
It just like, if you know the scene I'm talking about or the line reading, then like you get what I'm saying. But if you rewatch this movie, that line is like the most Matt Damon coded dialogue. It's just the way he like sighs and says it is like he's a disappointed parent. I'm like, that doesn't feel like Odysseus.
It's him and we bought a zoo.
Basically,
there we go. Yeah. Okay.
So that's the only thing that pulled me out. I was like, oh, that's not Odysseus. That's Matt Damon.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to think about this when we rewatch it.
You have to watch for that.
Yeah.
Another scene that I mentioned as one of mine, I think the whirlpool, right? This is like this giant, like the world is opening up and the ocean's going to suck you in. I love that Christopher Nolan likes to do things practical. And from what I understand is they had jet skis going in circles to create the whirlpool.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Well, and so that's a real thing. Yeah. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think because, some of the limitations that come from that, I felt like you didn't see the whirlpool very much in this movie. It was there, but they kind of very quickly skirted around it. Yeah. And I never felt like that's a huge gaping hole in the earth that's going to suck them in. I felt like they're probably fine.
It was flat. It looked like very flat. You don't see the interior. And again, with
probably a limitation.
Effects, but still, it's just, yeah.
But I know you had a counter to that.
I did. I mean, with your note about the scene happening too fast, I think it worked really well in terms of, as soon as they passed by that whirlpool, again, I'm not very familiar with the Odyssey, so I didn't really know that this was happening. But in like a split second, a few of his men just literally get snatched up by this sea monster thing. And I had to remind myself that we were in public in a theater because I was so close to just like screaming because I got so scared. And again, that's where I thought that the really quick pace just worked in its favor. It worked well as a setup. So yeah,
it kind of blindsides you, right? You're so concerned with one thing that you forget about the danger of the other. So that's
so crazy.
It is well done. Again, like I'm reaching, but I thought the whirlpool, like again, I'm thinking of like this biblical size hole in the earth that is just not really, you can't really recreate it with a jet ski. So I appreciate the practical effects. That's one area where I'm like, maybe could have done that better. You had a scene that you didn't enjoy.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, no offense to Jon Bernthal. I'm not very familiar with him and his work, but I guess he was like one of the weaker points in the movie for me, especially in the scene where him playing Menelaus, he's telling Tom Holland's character more about what happened to like Agamemnon, aka Benny Safdie. And I need subtitles when I watch movies, so I don't know if it's just because there were no captions and I was like struggling with trying to understand what they were saying. But I felt like the scene was very rushed in terms of like him telling Tom Holland and the audience what was going on. Again, if you've read the book, like you know what he's talking about. But I just could have, I wouldn't have, I guess, complained about there being more in that scene, you know, taking a little bit more time with that, just kind of explaining. Because again, it was like very quick cuts and just all happening very fast. And then also with his wife, Helen of Troy, kind of popping in there. It was confusing to me for some reason at times. And so I guess just being a little bit more in depth could have been a bit better for me. But
I agree. I think it was something that like we kind of worked together and pieced of what, you know, I think we got the idea of it, but like it could have been told in a little more detail. And I think that's true for the Agamemnon, you know, whatever that guy's name is, Benny Sappy's character in general, could have used a little more of him. I think he's just so cool as a character, and we really didn't see much of him. And I get like, maybe the idea is like, well, you're hearing stories, right? It's kind of like a theme of this movie. And so I still think that story in specific, having John Bernthal be the one to just kind of give it to you in a dialogue dump, could have used a longer sequence. I know this movie is 2 hours and 52, but it could have been 3 hours. Give me 8 minutes explaining more of Helen of Troy and everything that happened there.
Or even just like 3 extra minutes, you know, just like a couple. I will say though, Agamemnon's wife, she was in the right. I will close it off with that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you murder someone's daughter, even your own daughter, for a sacrifice. It's not great. But that, I think, is the Odyssey. I think we have reviewed the Odyssey pretty well. Like when I say well, I mean we've covered many things. I don't want to sound like I'm, you know, egotistical. No. I don't want to defy the gods. But I think I feel like we covered a lot of topics. And I would love to know if you guys disagree with anything that we said. Let us know what you feel about the Odyssey. We're going to talk about our top 3 Nolan films now, and we're going to make this pretty quick, right? Like, we're not going to go too in depth. That's why we're keeping it to a top 3. But for me, I will say there's, you know, let's save this movie, because I know we talked about this before. We have a similar top 3. Let's save this movie for the end.
Okay.
So I will tell you right now, one movie that I know we both agree on in our top 3 is Oppenheimer. We both love Oppenheimer.
Love it.
Like, Cillian Murphy knocks it out the park. It's one of the best roles of this decade. The story is very engaging. 3-hour runtime goes by like that. The score, I could talk all day about it. I think entering this movie, it was both our favorite Nolan movie.
It really, I mean, just the way he told the story too, with like the color scenes versus the black and white sequences and everything. And I just, oh my gosh, that movie is one of my favorites of all time, truly.
The editing on Oppenheimer is breathtaking. To be able to interweave this narrative across so many different years, and so like just to make it coherent was such a huge task that I can't give enough credit there. It's so great. And you know, just this kind of like political thriller even for Nolan. Like I think it was, many people have said it, I'm not breaking ground here, but like what a film. Oppenheimer to me is the number 1 probably. I know we disagree. Well, this isn't in order, but like Oppenheimer's on the list. This is where we have some disagreements. I put The Dark Knight in my list, and I don't think you have it in there, and that's okay. But I put The Dark Knight. Well, I think your choice is very valid, and we'll get to it. Right now, I have Oppenheimer and Dark Knight in my list, and the reason why I have Dark Knight is because this is a film that, yes, it's a comic book movie, but it is kind of the comic book movie, and it transformed the genre, and you get all-time great iconic performance from Heath Ledger, who I know the Joker and his role and everything has kind of become almost like oversaturated by all the different Joker takes we've had, and the way that it's become like this almost like cringy, like hot topic vibe. Like I get that, but I think sometimes we have to peel it back and remember where it started. That man was incredible. One of the best villains of all time. Christian Bale is amazing. The cinematography, like that story is just so great. So to me, like, the spectacle and excitement of The Dark Knight puts it in my list. What did you have instead of The Dark Knight?
I'm going to sound like such a film bro, and I am. Interstellar. Oh my gosh, that one is near and dear to my heart. It's Interstellar. It's all about love and the power of love and why love is so important to humanity. It doesn't get better than that. I mean, Matthew McConaughey in what is, I think, his best performance.
True Detective. True Detective
I haven't
is there.
Seen that yet.
But I would say this is his best performance.
I think so. just the cast overall, the bittersweet moments in the movie. Again, just like I keep wanting to say the power of love, but I think of the song. But it's just like it tugs at your heartstrings, and oh my god, cornfield chase. Caught with
no time for caution.
No time for caution. There we go. Come on. It's just man.
Like this is off the top of my head, so bear with me. But when you just think of like the best sequences that Christopher Nolan has ever put on screen, the docking scene is up there. The Trojan horse scene, I think, is up there. Can you hear the music? The Dark Knight scene where they flip the semi truck, right? Like those are some of the things that come to mind. And so Interstellar, great choice. People, I was just gonna say, people will complain about like, oh, it's so stupid. Why is the answer to everything love? What else would the answer be? What else would the answer be?
Better than love.
It's just like silly. What do you think the answer to the universe is?
Oh my god, I hate when people say that. I will say though, fun fact: did you know that Christopher Nolan planted all those cornfields for this scene?
Did he actually?
He did, but it's one of those memes where it's like every video about Interstellar, someone comments like,
"Wait,
did
actually?"
You know? Yeah, it's like a meme.
I actually didn't know that. So
it's like every so often, I feel like some of those movie accounts like recirculated or like, did you know? I didn't. I think it's verified. So, but
Christopher Nolan's insane.
He's insane in the best way. But
he is. Interstellar's a good choice.
And it's just, oh man. Also, I'm a sucker for like father-daughter stories. I'm a sucker for that. And so seeing Murph and her dad, just that story between them, it's just so sweet. So yeah.
I think Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar is one of the most charismatic leading roles that I've seen. And I feel like because his career is just kind of never really, you have True Detective, Interstellar, and Dallas Buyers Club where he wins the Oscar, correct?
Yes.
And he's kind of never got back to that level. And so I think he doesn't get remembered in the same way. And maybe I'm just crazy, but there's something about his presence on screen, especially in Interstellar as the leading man, where I'm like, I'm so just, it's like magnetic. You are so captured by him in this film. And I just think it's something that maybe gets underrated when we talk about Interstellar because it's such like, it's a sci-fi movie and the spectacle, but I'm like, Matthew McConaughey is so good in that role. And so I agree. I think I would have had Interstellar in my top 3, if not for the very movie we just watched, which is the one I figured we would wait a second to include. I don't know why we hyped it up the entire time. It's probably obvious, but we both walked out of the theater and said, I don't know if that's number 1. I don't know if it's number 2, but it's in the top 3.
It's in the top 3 for sure. Yeah.
It's in the top 3. And if I'm a prisoner of the moment, I would maybe say top number 1. But again, like this is fresh off the movie. It's fresh in my mind. If I rewatch Oppenheimer, I might feel that way. If I rewatch Dark Knight, I might feel that way. I could watch Interstellar tomorrow and say, well, actually, this is the best Nolan movie. That's the beauty of this man's filmography.
That's just how good he is.
The fact that we're multiple decades into his career and you could say that he just dropped back to back the best movies in his filmography is crazy. I don't want to get too carried away, but you look at the run that he's on and who knows what he does next. But I just want to take the moment to say, like, shout out to Christopher Nolan because this is one of the best runs a director has ever had.
Incredible.
Just love that he's continuing to challenge himself and get better. And this might be his magnum opus. Maybe wherever he goes from here can't reach the scale of the Odyssey, but
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, when you do the Odyssey, you did the damn thing anyway. So
yeah,
I think that's all for this episode. So thank you for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, drop a comment. You know, I don't know if anyone made it.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone made it through this Odyssey of a review, but if you did, leave a comment, drop a like, hit the subscribe button. We really appreciate it. We're, hoping to get more consistent uploading. We love movies. We love talking about them. And all we want to do is share it with, an audience. So hopefully you guys joined and hit the subscribe button, do all that. We super, super appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you for watching.
Thanks so much.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.